After the release of 2001, Stanley Kubrick openly stated that he had created a film which was intended to bypass the conscious rationalizations of its audience and to sink straight into the unconscious. He wasn't kidding. There are very few films in history that have received such varied reviews and interpretations. Depending on which review you read, 2001 is either an adaptation of the classic Greek play The Odyssey, an adaptation of Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra, a pretentious and self-indulgent art house film, a bold statement about mankind's evolution to the stars, a promotion of Masonic philosophies, or a propaganda film to increase public support for the US moon landings that came shortly after the film's release. And the list I have just offered is by no means exhaustive. While there is ample evidence to support some of these interpretations, none of them offer anything near a full understanding, because no matter which analysis you apply, there always seems to be other symbols and concepts in the film that remain elusive. It seems that 2001 was deliberately designed to incorporate a multitude of concepts so that it is near impossible to interpret consciously. It's like a cinematic Rubik's Cube, or should I say Kubrick's Cube. In recent months I have laboriously researched other reviews of 2001 in an attempt to find something new and refreshing. After continuous cross-referencing of the film's symbols and themes, during which I almost gave up, I eventually stumbled across a key element of the film's structure and symbolism that I have never before encountered, and which I am convinced cuts straight to the heart of the film's meaning. If you have watched my reviews of The Shining and Clockwork Orange, then you will be well aware that my analysis tends to concentrate on how Kubrick films affected audiences directly through unconscious symbols. Some people have reacted with strong cynicism to this approach, and occasionally people have taken offence. As a remedy for this, I suggest those people do a little research into semiotics and steganography, which are the arts of encoding hidden messages within a seemingly unrelated context. Kubrick was a master of these skills, and steganalysis is the art of decoding such hidden messages. So let's proceed with the review. The same haunting piece of music seems to occur every time an evolutionary step is being taken in the film. We hear this music when the apes first encounter the monolith in the dawn of man, when the astronauts encounter a second monolith in the Tycho moon crater, and when Dave Bowman encounters the third monolith near Jupiter. We are given repeated confirmation that this music is the singing voice of the monolith, and that it only sings when it is helping its primitive hosts to evolve. However, there are two other strange instances of this music that stand out, but are usually ignored as being the least interesting scenes. It is heard at the very beginning of the film over a black screen, and later repeats during the intermission just before the astronauts do battle with the HAL 9000 computer, again over a black screen. So why the black screens? Well, the answer can be found by noting one of the key differences between the film and Arthur C. Clarke's book. In the book, the monolith was described as a pyramid-shaped piece of polished mineral surrounded by a spherical force field. Kubrick, in adapting the story for cinema, changed this to a black rectangular box. Why? Because the monolith is a representation of the cinema screen itself. The dimensions of the monolith, if viewed face-on and rotated 90 degrees, almost fit the widescreen cinema frame in which the film was shot. So in the film's opening and during the intermission, we are not looking at an empty black screen at all. We are looking directly at the surface of the monolith. The monolith is the film screen, and it is singing directly at its audience in the same way that the apes and astronauts are entranced by its heavenly voice, not realizing that they are being communicated with directly. For almost 40 years, audiences and reviewers across the globe have sat staring at this black singing screen, not realizing that they are staring at the monolith. The joke is on us, and Kubrick, if he is watching over us, will be laughing and cheering from beyond the infinite. This widescreen 2.5-hour presentation of sight and sound, which we casually refer to as the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, is in itself the Stargate, and we, the audience, are its subjects. Kubrick is taking us on a psychedelic ride of conscious evolution as he inspires us to think deeply about our own origins as a species and about where we are heading in the distant future. He is also literally demanding that we think outside the box. The term Space Odyssey now has a literal meaning. It refers to the spatial relationship between the screen, the audience, and the audience's surroundings. The most deceiving aspect of this is that for most of the film the monolith is seen standing upright, like a doorway. If it had been depicted horizontally, then it wouldn't have taken long for reviewers to crack this piece of the narrative puzzle. The connection is also more difficult to make because the smaller versions of the monolith are slightly too long to fit the cinema screen exactly, but the giant monolith floating near Jupiter appears to have dimensions that do fit.